So tonight's actually about sharing the conversation more broadly about pakanga and the commemorative efforts for New Zealand to remember the land wars here in Aotearoa, but more importantly and more to the point, localise it here at Waerenga-a-Hika. So the history was shared with Māori and Pākehā alike, with the intention of allowing everybody to be a part of the conversation and not just Māori. For if we just continue to do it as Māori, then we'll be rowing a one-sided canoe. In order for us all to remember these significant events in kaupapa, it's important to share with a wider community, and that's what's brought us here this evening, to share that conversation, to have some questions, to mix and mingle as a community in the hope that when we come to remember these days again, the community does it as a whole. For local purposes, in sharing that history and in acknowledging it warts and all, the good things, the bad things, what happened from that as a result. We heard a question this evening about a shame that Pākehā feel if they were to hear this kind of a history.
But how do we get more of our Pākehā population to accept what went on, because there is a certain amount of denial out there?
It's important that at 150 years, when we commemorate it again in 25 years, 50 years, 100 years, and so on, our tamariki are having this conversation at a far more advanced point than we are today, to make sure that the conversation of Waerenga-a-Hika is actually just normal conversation amongst all of our uri whakatupu, our younger generations, so that our relations, I believe, as people in Aotearoa will be better.
I was bugging my mum, Mum, why aren't we learning this at school? This should be compulsory. And she said, I don't know, babe, just make something happen.
Kei ngā uri whakatupu te rongoa, I honestly believe it's with our future generations, so it's incumbent upon our current generations to make sure that that information is available, and we're better to do that for them through schools. The younger the better, in my opinion. While we want to push for that nationally, we must remember that it has to be localised. While sharing a broad history, it must be focused. So in places like here in Tūranga, we'll be talking about Waerenga-a-Hika, the tamariki will be. In places where I come from, like Te Taitokera, they'll be talking about Kawiti and the Battle of Ruapekapeka, while understanding those individual places in the context of a broader conversation around land wars. It is about those young people, so just like I believe it the same to be with Te Reo Māori. If we want our nation to speak Te Reo Māori, if we want them to speak about land wars and remember them, we must have it in the schools. So the commemorative day is one step in that journey. The next step is ensuring it's in the curriculum. History is the blueprint to our future. It's what makes us who we are, and it will actually set us on our pathway into the future. This is a landmark occasion, and tonight is evidenced by the great turnout that's come here, Māori and Pākehā alike. We need to do this now so that our tamariki prosper in the future.
Some tūranga rangatira signed the Treaty of Waitangi in 1840, but it was probably of little significance to them at the time and changed nothing on the ground.
Yeah, Vincent's done some fantastic work at putting together a very complex puzzle. In the past, there were just the Māori wars, then there were just land wars, then there were just Waikato wars. We've seen our research and our understanding of history develop, and Vincent O'Malley's played a key part in that. So now we're acknowledging it as land wars, New Zealand land wars that belongs to all of us. It isn't just the north, it isn't just the east, south or west. His presentation this evening ties together a lot of the conversation that even we as Māori don't understand. We know what we suffered, yet we don't know the conversation quite often amongst the Pākehā generals and leaders of the day that led to those kinds of decisions. And the great work that Vincent's done and presented here this evening just gave us a snippet, because there's lots more to be learned, but it gave us a snippet to be more interested, more engaged and more enlightened.
This recent generation there, the word kaupapa. Not a nice word.
Koetahi o ana kōrero e pāna ki tēnā mea te kaupapa. Ka pēhea tātou tiro atu kia tāu o te Māori mehemea e whakapapa kaupapa e kōrero hi ākene. Ko tērā tetahi taha, ko tetahi atu taha, ko te taha ki te taha Pākehā. Ko te nuinga o tātou, hei a tātou he whakapapa Pākehā ne. Ko au te tahi, ko ia anō hoki te tahi, nō reira koina te pai o tana kōrero. me puta mai ngā kōrero katoa. Kaua ko ngā kōrero harihari, ngā kōrero papaira wātu, ngā kōrero e hāngai ana ki te Māori anake, ki te Pākehā anake. Engari ngā kōrero katoa, ngā raru katoa, ko reira tātou ka whakatika ai te tuapapa o ngā tau e tūne.
The aftermath of Waerenga-a-Hika was the worst part. Sending people to Whanakauri was a damning indictment on the Crown. No trial, no nothing. But the people left behind, and your records and your research showed that it was a tough winter. So a lot of our people perished because there was no food. What wasn't taken was destroyed. I think the more important part, which I'm really quite pleased with this whole series that you're doing, and also commemorating our wars, is the fact that our history can now be recorded, and we share all the stories for all of us.
I say to Aotearoa, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid that these conversations are being had. Don't shy away from our past, because I honestly believe once we've reconciled our past, we can move forward together as a motu. And that's even more important as our culture and our country becomes more and more diverse. It's important that we remember our Pākehā and our Māori heritage. So don't be afraid, kia kaha koutou.
Kariri ana te rangi e Pū te rura rere mai ki au I rangiriri e Kariri karere te mata Hau ana mai te rongo ki hiku rangi e Kariri e oh, ana te whana oh, ana te tuki e kore piri e kore tata Kariri a te aukati te kaukaroa, ka puta ki maketu. Kariri a te aukati, te kaukaroa, ka puta ki maketu. Kariri ana ka ngangana, purepo, paha I raro ki te ranga au e. Kariri e oh, ana te whana oh, ana te tuki e kore piri e kore tata Kataka I te ara ki runga o puke hina o puke hina Kataka I te ara ki runga o puke hina o puke hina ka whana ka tuki ki runga o puke hina o puke hina ka tuki te manawa ki runga o puke hina Kariri kauri ki Waerenga-a-Hika Kōrero Kariri oh, ana te tuki oh, ana te whana e ore piri e ore tata ka te ara ki runga o puke hina da, ah, ah.